Hello, BookTube. Welcome to Revenant Reads. I'm Vin, and this is the in or out tag. So this tag was originally created by Rick McDonnell. I am doing the Steve Donoghue edition, which has 20 additional questions. But these are all very quick prompts to see, are you in or out? Yay or nay? Do you like it? Do you not? With, I guess, minimal need for explanation, but sometimes it will be needed. But these seem like fun questions, so I figured I'd go through them. Also, not the kind of thing that you need a lot of prep for, which is nice. So with that, let's go to the first prompt. Reading the last page first. Out. I don't understand why somebody would do that. The only thing that I might that I definitely go to the back of the book for is if I'm reading nonfiction, like an academic work, history, just to look at the sources. That can be a good judge of whether or not this is a reliable person that is writing. I like to see what kind of sources they're using, but that's really the only situation where I go to the back of the book first. Number 2, enemies to lovers. I guess out. I haven't read a lot of books that do that, but it doesn't sound appealing to me, really, at all. So no. Number 3, dream sequences. I'm okay with a dream sequence. I'm sort of in, I guess, if it somehow moves the plot along. It has to still tell me something. I don't need a needless dream sequence. But if the dream sequence is a creative way of letting me know something else that's going on in the plot, or maybe clues me in to something that the character might not quite be realizing. The thing that I have in mind right now is in Rosemary's Baby, when Rosemary is having her dream, but she's hearing things, of course, as she's unconscious, and those things are being incorporated into her dream. And, her subconscious, of course, kind of converting into sort of within her the Catholic landscape in which she was brought up. And I like that. I like that approach to dreams, but I don't want it to be superfluous or anything like that. Love triangles, out. I don't care. That's not the tension that I want in a book. Number 5, crack spines, out. I don't like cracking the spines. If I get a cheap used book that has a cracked spine, that's fine. I will read it, but then if I find a better copy for a decent price that doesn't have a cracked spine, I will generally trade it out. I do like to preserve my spines. Number 6, back to my small town. I guess in. This is, of course, completely dependent on how an author uses this sort of thing. I think like Salem's Lot. We have a writer going back to his town. I like Salem's Lot a lot. Or you can have like I'm thinking Stephen King again. People the adults return to Derry. If you've ever been to my channel before, I'm mostly a horror fan, and I say that as horror cinema buff, and I'm newer, I would say, to horror fiction, but I'm still working my way through it slowly. But yeah, I'm in for Back to My Small Town as long as it's interesting for me. Number 7, monsters are regular people. It's true. I'm mostly a nonfiction reader, especially a historical nonfiction reader, and the worst monsters are human beings and what we have done to each other. It is horrific. What's Dracula compared to Joseph Mengele? Really. That being said, I also like real monsters in my books. So don't make them people all the time. I love a good monster. So I'm in, but give me the other stuff too. 8, no paragraph breaks, out. I'm gonna say out for that one. I don't have a lot of time to just sit down at once and read in long stretches. I have 2 young kids. My daughter's 5, my son is 8, and I get interrupted a lot. So I have to kind of continuously read throughout the day in small installments. And having these paragraph breaks, it gives me good places to kind of stop and catch on. If I had hours to sit and read, that probably wouldn't be as much of an issue. But just because of the way that I read, that I do like them. I like them a lot. Number 9, multi-generational sagas. I guess I'm in. I haven't read any, but I like the idea. So I'll say in. Number 10, rereading. In. I didn't used to reread a lot, but I have started doing that more. Especially because I just turned 40 this year. Enough time has passed since I've read certain things where I'm a completely different person now. So I'm more rereading it just to see, does it hold up? Am I getting something new out of it? Just like I would return to an old movie that I loved as a kid. But so yes, in for rereading. Number 11, artificial intelligence. In. Yeah, it's a good, if it's used right. Number 12, drop caps. In. I think they're beautiful. The giant capital letter to begin a paragraph. I think it's gorgeous. So in. Number 13, happy endings. In if it's done right, that's fine. 14, plot points that only converge at the end. I'm thinking what's meant here is that it's not clear at all how certain plot points relate to each other until the very end of the book, which I don't think I've had a lot of experience with. Maybe that's something that people find frustrating, but if it converges well, then I'm in. Detailed magic systems. I think I'm almost going to say out for this. I do like fantasy, but I'm more of like low magic fantasy. I want a sword play in battles and a little bit of maybe a supernatural element or a little bit of magic here and there. But I don't need to be obsessively told about how all the magic works. I'm more of like Conan mentality where I kind of just distrust the magic and I'd rather just go bash things. Even when I used to play, if I played years ago, I played World of Warcraft. I almost never played magic users. Or if I played Dungeons and Dragons, I'm always just like a barbarian or a fighter or something like that, smashing things. I find my patience being tried sometimes with magic systems. I'm not entirely against them. Maybe I'll find one that I like, but at this point, I just know my own mentality. I'm going to say out. Number 16, classic fantasy races. I guess I'm okay with this. I think they could be used poorly. Certain, how can I say this? Certain racial assumptions that maybe come along with that, that don't fit well into the real world. But if we're talking classic just fantasy races, like do I like elves and dwarves, then yes, I'm in. 17, unreliable narrators. I'm a little bit torn on this one. I can find it frustrating. I'm in if, as the reader, I can kind of figure out what happened for real, or if I feel like the writer at least knows what the real story is. I don't want it to be used as an excuse for poor writing, or plots that don't make sense, just because the narrator is unreliable. Then we just don't know exactly what's going on. I'd find that very frustrating. So it's I'm kind of in and out on that one. I'm on the cusp. Number 18, evil protagonists. Yeah, I'm in. That's fine. Number 19, the chosen one. I'm gonna say out. I think that's. I think we can get beyond the chosen one now. I'd much prefer a hero who willingly takes on this, even if it's difficult. Or if they are chosen, I hope that they are incredibly reluctant. But yeah, if I was going to read the back of a book and it said that so and so was a chosen one, I might put that book back down again. So I'm just going to say out. 20, when the protagonist dies. Yeah, in. They're not real. Kill him. 21, really long chapters. I'm going to say out for the same reason that, which one was it, about the paragraph breaks. I do like digestible sections just because, again, I have those smaller windows to read throughout the day. I don't just sit down and read for hours. I kind of just, from morning till night, I am at different times picking up the book and reading through. And sometimes I can get a decent amount of reading done that way. Uh, but I much prefer to have a clear visual stopping and starting point when I do that. Number 22, French flaps. Yes, I'm in. I love French flaps. That kind of goes to the next one, Deckled Edges. So French flaps are like the paperback covers that turn inward. They kind of give almost like a pseudo hardcover feel, but they're still generally floppy enough where, especially if it's a nice big book, it just kind of opens and stays open by itself. I love that. And the deckled edges are beautiful. Sometimes they're a little bit hard to turn the page, but I think they're kind of worth it just because of I just think they're gorgeous. 24, signed copies by the author. I mean, I'm in, but it's not a strong in. I've come across signed copies accidentally, and I'm glad that I have them. I've had a few occasions where authors have signed, but that's more like I saw the author talk or I met the author, and that signature, that signed copy, is more of a memento or a token of that meeting, and it's not about the signature itself. So yeah, I'm not. I don't go seeking out signatures necessarily. So I can kind of take it or leave it for the most part. But I guess I like the ones that I have, so I'm in. 25 dog earring pages. Out. I am out for dog earring pages. I use bookmarks. If I don't have a bookmark, I will find a piece of paper to tear and use as a bookmark. If I only have toilet paper around unused, I will throw it in there. And if all else fails, I will just remember the page number. I do not like dog earring books. And number 26, chapter titles instead of numbers. I'm gonna say out. I like the numbers. I like to be able to track my progression. So I'm gonna say out for that. I like chapter titles with the numbers. The combination I think is the best, but I kind of I do like having numbers on there. So that ends the original prompt. So now I'm going into Steve Donoghue's edition, and of course I'll link him inside the description. But he created his own list of the ins and outs. So his first one is ebooks. Theoretically, I'm in. I just don't have an ebook reader, so I don't have a lot of exposure to them. I'm not against them entirely. I do love having physical copies of books, and I like having the visual, or not the visual, with the sensory input. And I do feel like I remember things far better if I read them physically than if I am on a screen, because screens just end up kind of being so sterile to me. I like kind of seeing the thickness of the pages, of where I am and tracking, and they have certain smells and textures. But I understand that they take up room and they can be costly. And I wouldn't mind trying out an ebook reader, especially maybe I'll be able to start reading periodicals again, which I don't have time for right now. But maybe if I had an e-reader with me, I could read them a lot quicker, and they wouldn't just like New Yorkers piling up like they used to. And maybe I'd buy into books. I like the idea of your ebooks. I'm totally fine with that, but I just don't have a lot of experience with them. So, but theoretically, I'm in. Number 2, silos, which I think Steve means like reading in like one genre. So I guess I'm out. I do kind of expand my reading as much as possible. I think I used to be much more in a certain way, and I thought that I was a certain type of reader. That was when I was younger. But I've certainly opened and expanded, and of course, the more widely you read, the more connections you see between all the other things that you had read before that genre, or that one silo that you were reading in. So yeah, I'm out with silos, I think, if I'm understanding that correctly. Number 3, evangelism. And I think he means like talking excitedly about a book that you just read and trying to maybe push it on people. Um, I guess I'm kind of gonna say out. Uh, I think it's one of the things that BookTube does for me. So I might be in it. I guess it depends on how I'm reading this. Uh, I like talking about the books, obviously, on BookTube. That's why I have a BookTube channel, because I wanted to talk about the things I was reading. But the people in my life, I don't necessarily evangelize to them, because even if they're readers, I know they're probably not going to pick up the book that I'm talking about. So, face-to-face evangelism, out. BookTube evangelism, in, I guess I could say. Number 4, palate cleansers. Um, like reading something heavy, and maybe dry, maybe just you know, um, mentally taxing, and then having something light in between them. In for palate cleansers. Yes, I do like them. That's also why I generally will read sometimes a nonfiction and fiction at the same time. Uh, I usually have something maybe serious going and something not so serious going. Some kind of combination of that, and I kind of go back and forth between that. Which I guess relates to the next prompt of his, which is promiscuity, which I think is reading multiple things at once. And so, yes, so that is related to the palate cleanser. I always have at least 2 books going, and I might have like one book downstairs, one book upstairs, or, depending on where I am, grabbing certain books. Um, so, yes to palate cleanser, into palate cleansers, and in for promiscuity. Number 6, binging. Basically reading a whole series at once, I believe is what this is. I guess I'm out. I haven't read a lot of series, and I don't have a desire to read tons of series. I'm much more interested in reading like a good single book than a whole series. I have read some series, but even then, I kind of didn't plow through all at once. Didn't always feel the desire to either. So I'm kind of out with binging a series. Number 7, completism, which is like reading all of an author's books. And I'm out. I don't feel like compulsion. There's certain authors that I like, and that I make sure that, if I see it, I'll pick it up, but I'm not a completist in that way at all. Number 8, number 8, McCarthyism. This is researching an author's right opinions, and I guess I'm out for that for the most part. Except I do, it's not an opinion thing, but it's more. I do look for political bias or political agendas, especially in like popular history. Um, so it's like if I see a Bill O'Reilly history book, I'm going to be taking his point of view into account, sort of thing. So in that respect, I do like to know where an author is coming from, if there is a certain agenda with their historical interpretation, whether or not I can really trust that this person is being, if they're being unbiased. So that's as far as it goes, though. Otherwise, I don't care. So for the most part, I guess I'm out with McCarthyism, and real McCarthyism, I'm definitely out with. Number 9, security blankets. Do I need the book with me at all times? No, I don't. I used to carry around a book with me at all times. I guess phones have kind of dampened that a little bit, but also, again, I just have kids with me, so it's not like I get a chance to sit there and read and not pay attention to what my 5-year-old daughter is doing, like in a waiting room. They take up a lot more attention. So no, I don't have the luxury of having a literary security blanket or anything with me. 10, stalking. Like following or going to meet authors. No, there's a few authors that I've met that I've gone to see, but that's few and far between. And so I'm out for stalking. 11, tourism. Going to places of books, or I guess maybe places related to authors. And I guess I'm in for that. Not in a way that I feel like I'm going to get like some kind of magical experience there, but I do like just getting some more insight into things. Like one example that I'm thinking of is something like when I was in Rome, going to see, right next to the Spanish Steps is where John Keats died, the poet. And you can go, it's a museum. You can go in there and they have his death mask and stuff like that. And, one of the poems that's always stuck with me is his poem, When I Have Fears. It's like, when I have fears that I may cease to be. And it's all about the fears of dying and that he doesn't have enough time for things. So when I'm thinking about that poem and I'm in his death room, it does add another dimension to the whole thing. That's not true for every writer, certainly. How many different places did Poe live in? It's, I don't expect to have a profound experience, but I do like checking out the places. It does give me, I think, a little bit more insight, even if it's not always profound. So, in for tourism, yes. Number 12, day tripping, reading outside. Often, no, if it's a really nice, like, spring day, where the bugs aren't everywhere and I'm not sweating, pages aren't sticking to my fingers, I'm not a beach reader necessarily. Those kinds of days, if it's really terrific, like spring or autumn weather, I might go outside and read some, but most of my reading is done inside. 13, collecting. Do I collect books? And I think he asked, is that separate from reading? So I say, I'm not exactly a collector of books. I do have a library, and I do like to keep the books that I like. So if I don't like a book, I get rid of it. So, I guess I kind of collect the books that I like. I don't know if that's actually collecting or just having a library. And do I see it separate from reading? Almost every book that I have read or I intend to read. I do have some like antique books that I guess fall into more the collecting category because some of them are different languages and I can't read them anyway. But I guess I collect a little bit, but it's not a big thing at all. So I guess I'm kind of in for collecting. 14, organizing. Organizing books, yes, I'm in. I love organizing my books and just going through and seeing them, and walking through the library and seeing if I can figure out another way that would work better for organizing. So, in for organizing. Number 15, hate reading. I guess reading something I know I'm going to hate or that I expect to hate. And I think I've certainly done that with certain apologetics, especially if they are of the more kind of fundamentalist, literalist variety. There was a point where I was reading them just to see what their arguments were, and I guess there was some hate reading going on. Not hate reading in the more reasonable apologetic sense, and there are some of those out there, of course. But I guess those things I hate read. But I don't have a lot of opportunities to read things that I know I'm going to hate. But I'm not against it. So I guess I'm in for hate reading. 6, annotating. Out. I do not write within the margins. I do take notes often. But I don't like writing in the margins, especially because I don't want to go back to the book and be constantly reminded of my original thoughts. Maybe it's not true, but I do have a fear that it will continually hamper my new thoughts. I don't want to be a slave to my past self when I'm reading these margins. And again, that might just be kind of ridiculous. Some people, I think, like to know what they were thinking at a certain time with that. But I'd like to be able to read kind of a clean book every single time. And then I'll go back to my notes afterwards or something like that. So I'm out for annotating. Number 17, we're almost done. Revisiting. Like revisiting an author to maybe change an opinion. And yes, I am in for that. Certainly. I kind of mentioned that before about the rereading. Yes, I do think that that's a terrific exercise to not only learn more about the book that you're reading, but also about yourself. Number 18, overdosing. I think he means by like kind of reading past your bedtime, or maybe allowing the reading to interfere with things that we, I guess, are supposed to be responsible for, maybe. And I'd say, I guess I'm out for overdosing. I never lose sleep for reading. I guess I'm out. 19, sub-vocalizing. I mean, I'm in for sub-vocalizing if I could do it consistently. I do still sub-vocalize. You know, it's kind of like saying the words in your head as you're reading, and makes you read a lot slower. Um, and I try to not do it. The more I try, the more aware I am that I'm doing it, and the slower I read. But there are times when I just start reading and I realize that I have not been sub-vocalizing, but I cannot do it at will. I don't know how to activate it. So in for sub-vocalizing, I wish that I knew how to use that superpower more consistently. And finally, 20, booktubing. Do I let booktube influence my reading or the way I think about reading? And I'm in for that, of course. You know, that's part of having an open mind. I don't have a booktube channel to claim that I'm an expert and, you know, espouse and just kind of, you know, send out all my vast knowledge of reading. No, I'm a student in life, and I'm still learning, and I'm a novice in so many things, and I'm on booktube in order to learn more, in order to broaden my horizons, read more things, find out more things, hear other opinions, you know, especially if it's an opinion I don't agree with, which is totally fine. There have been books this year that, you know, I've done reading groups with, and everybody loved it and I didn't. That's totally fine. But I'm interested to hear why people liked it. Yeah, so, you know, it didn't necessarily influence me, but I guess it gave me a greater respect for the book that I didn't necessarily enjoy. So anyhow, that was the last prompt in Steve's edition. Still ran a little bit long. We're at about almost 27 minutes now. But that was the in or out tag, Steve Donoghue Edition. And that's it. All right. Thank you, BookTube.